John, Emily, you ready? Is there anyone here tonight that requests interpretation services? David is in the back. Please just raise your hand or go find David and he will help you. All right. With that, I'll call us to order at 7 o'clock. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to jump into D1. And that, actually, we're going to go back to C. I always forget this. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And now we will go to D1. Mr. Saxon.
Yes, thank you. Chair Aganagwa, members of the board, I wanted to just take a minute, and really what I want to do is take a minute and sit back and catch our breath, because there's been a lot of work to do the superintendent's timeline, and it actually takes me back to one of the first meetings in August or September that I attended, and people said, what are your goals, Superintendent Saxon, for the year? And I put together a list of goals, and goal number 2 was that I would put the district in the best position possible to attract, hire, and retain a quality superintendent to lead the district in the long term. And I think that's some work that's been underway ever since. And there's a copy or just a real quick depiction of that goal. And so then we put together a timeline for the superintendent search. If you remember also at that meeting, or in one of the very early meetings, it became really apparent that it was going to be important for us to come out with a timeline that would lay out what the expectations were for this search, that it would be transparent, that there would be a lot of community involvement in the process, and that it would be multifaceted, and it would do a thorough search and selection process for the superintendent. And so we put this together, and I've just written it down here, and I just want to take a minute to walk through it, because I think it's important for you all to stop and think about what has happened. So in September, the board hired search consultants to help the board with some of the work. And actually, at the first meeting, we'd put together a list of the steps that were part of this, and I think I said at that time, my recommendation would be that you would adopt something like this that would be tentative, and then you would hire some search consultants and then adopt their timeline and move through it the way that is recommended by the consultants, because that's what they do and not necessarily what I do. And so you did that. On October 26th, the application window for superintendents to apply for the job opened up. On November 1st, the community interview team process was adopted by the board, and the application process for the community interview team was approved by the board. On November 8th, the online survey asking the community what they wanted in a superintendent went live, and there were 132 respondents to that survey. November 10th through the 18th, there were 20 different stakeholder group meetings with the consultants. And that was a very involved and detailed process. I think we probably wore out the consulting group just a little bit with the number of stakeholder meetings that we expected to have, different places, different kinds of constituencies. November 29th, a stakeholder feedback report was presented to the board by the consultants. Also on November 29th, comment was accepted on the community interview team process and application from the community. And also that evening, the application form to be used by the community interview team was approved, and then it was distributed out to the community so that people could make application to be part of that process. On December 6th, the board created a draft of the superintendent interview schedule and topics for the board to review. December 6th through the 31st, there were 32 individuals that applied for the community interview team. Thanks, Chris. December 13th, the application for the community interview team closed. On December 13th, the application for the superintendents closed. Also, December 13th, public comment on the stakeholder report was given. December 14 to 21, the consultant performed the background checks, and brought forward semifinalists to the board. December 16th, there was public comment on the topics for interview questions by the community. On January 3rd, there was a team that did work on this and was the team that was leading the search process, and they reviewed and prepared recommendations for the community interview team, for the members of the community interview team. On January 10th, the board approved the consultants to choose and move forward semifinalists to be interviewed. On January 10th, the community interview team was approved by the board. January 20th and 21st, the semifinalist interviews were conducted, and that was community team, interview team, and the board that did the interviewing in 2 separate interview processes. On January 24th, 2 finalists were moved forward, and they put together video interviews, responses to some interview questions that were released to the public. There were 2,510 views of those videos that were put together, and the community was allowed to respond to what it was that they saw as part of those videos. On January 25th and 27th, we held meet and greets with stakeholders from a variety of different stakeholder groups. There was also a district tour, and then there were executive session interviews conducted by the board. On January 28th through February 2nd, the consultants and district legal counsel negotiated contracts. And February 3rd, tonight, there's a public announcement in regard to the new proposed superintendent. And I guess I would just say to the board, there may be some place in Oregon this year that conducts a process with more detail, is slightly more thorough, or something like that, but I haven't seen it before. This was a process and then some, and I do think that you did it with transparency and you followed the process as it was laid out and intended. And I just want to congratulate you on doing that. I think it took a lot of effort and work, but I also think it was really important to the success in your decision, to the success of the district, and to the success of the next superintendent. And so I want to thank you for that. I think the only person who really saw the process all the way through the process with any more detail than anyone else, who also probably spent more time and effort on this than anyone, was board secretary. And Chris, I just want to say thank you for your diligence and hard work on this and your commitment and utmost integrity throughout the entirety of the process. And so just thank you for that. It really pretty amazing to watch, and without your organizational skills, I'm not sure how we pull it off. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
And I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that. No need, but you can if you'd like.
I just was honored to be part of the process, and I just think that it was interesting to watch it all the way through, because I hadn't done it all the way through before, and so it was a hard process, and you guys had a hard decision, so I wouldn't have wanted to make it. So I'm glad it's yours to make.
Well, we appreciate you stepping up in times of emergency and making sure we're following all the rules and everything's straight to the line. I really appreciate being there. All right, we're going to move to D2.
Okay. I move to hire Andy Gardner to the superintendent position of the Greater Albany Public Schools.
I second.
Motion has been moved and seconded to hire Andy Gardner as a superintendent for Greater Albany Public Schools. Is there any discussion?
We have some time for discussion here on this.
Yes, sir.
I just more want to continue the thanks. Thanks the McPherson-Jacobson team of Stephen Lauder and Nathan McCann kind of led us to some degree. John Anderson, Clarice Law, and Allison Ecker participated on the search team with me and Director Morse, and they gave input and they were valuable members of that team. There were 11 members in the community interview team, and I forget all their names, but they interviewed and we saw their write-ups and their input, and it was great. A whole bunch of folks did those focus groups in November, and there were like 100 or so comments of folks who watched the videos. And so I just want to thank the community for giving their input and really helping shape what we want in a superintendent, and I think we followed that. I think this candidate comes with well regard from the place coming from, and I just think it's an opportunity, lots of challenges ahead, but a chance to move forward and kind of turn the page, and I think he's got the ability to do that.
Thank you, Director Thompson. That was very well put.
Eric, I shouldn't, but I wanted to make sure and thank previous Superintendent Bob Stolick for, he drove people around on an interview or on a tour of our schools. They went to 6 different schools on 2 different days, and he took the time to go meet with principals ahead of time and just was so excited to do it and just did a terrific job. So thank you to Mr. Stolick.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'd just like to say the consultants certainly gave us some tough choices. All the candidates we had the opportunity to meet with were top caliber. All of them could have done a great job. I believe we've got the best of the best, and it was so hard to choose. I mean, Chris, we spent some time in the meeting, and we agonized and talked about it for several days. And it was a very difficult decision, so that's, a well done to the consultants for giving us such great talent to choose from.
All right, with no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much.
For the record, the motion passes unanimously.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move to D3. That is an action to move to approve the superintendent contract as presented.
I move to approve the superintendent contract as presented.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Thank you, motion passes. Without seeing any further agenda items on our agenda, I move to end the meeting. Adjourn.
I'll second it.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
Okay, good.
All in favor? Aye. And opposed? Thank you.
sorry.
We had to approve that.